Good morning. My name is Huzaifa Abubakar. I am the Media Fellow of Youth Rights Nigeria. So I was trained in drug policy, advocacy, harm reduction, criminal justice, and advocacy. So we are going to discuss on these issues. Together with me is legal practitioner with decades of experience in criminal justice and also with years of experience in litigation and different cases related to drug-related crimes. So, Barrister, you're welcome, Barrister.
Thank you, Mr. Jose.
You can introduce yourself before we...
I am Barrister Adam Tonko Jibri. I'm a private legal practitioner with the years of experience in terms of litigations and commercial law practices. Thank you, Mr. Josefa, for inviting me to this great gathering.
You're welcome, Barrister. So, the aim of this is to make people aware of their rights, because if you look at the drug policy in Nigeria, it prioritizes punitive approach instead of human approach. So punitive approach proved to be ineffective. So we are going to delve into human rights approach to drug policy and the current drug policy landscape in Nigeria. So Barrister, what can you say about the current drug policy in Nigeria?
Seriously, as regard to the contemporary situation that we are in now in this country, the drugs policy that we have, before we first know what drug policy is all about, first of all, we need to know what drugs is all mean. Literally, when we talk about drugs, according to the NAFDAC definitions of the word drugs, it refers as a situation where any substance, either being consumable or inconsumable, in terms of cosmetics and other things, it forms part of drugs. So, but in the purpose of this discussion, that we have to look at the drugs in terms of medication and other harmful aspect of it. So when we are talking about the issues of policy, it's regarded as a instruments that regulating the administrations of drugs policy in the drugs in consumptions in Nigeria. So when discussing on issues of the punitive approach that been administered to the drugs users or the offenders of use of drugs, seriously, when we look at it into protections of their human rights, is seriously the policy at times goes against the human rights policy, because when you take the issues concerning their own rights in terms of inhumanity, when you go to a place, is the most important aspect of all agency that regulating the issues of drugs, although they are not the only one, like NDLEA, National Drugs Law Enforcement Agency. When you go to their own command in each and every state in Nigeria, you may find out that there is a lot of people in their cell, which, going by the provisos of our grand norms, that is the constitutions of Nigeria 2011, it gives a maximum hours where a person has been arrested, has to be concluded their investigation and arrange such a person to the court of law. Like most of their activities in terms of the police enforcement of these drugs related matters, most of the time it goes against the humanity of such person because of maltreatment and other things.
Thank you so much, yes. Barrister. So now, in terms of the possession of drugs, is there any law that talk about the amount of drugs that if you are found into possession of this kind of drug, that you will be arrested?
Mostly the laws or the policy that are regulating the exporting or importations of drugs in this country, because there are some agencies, not only the NDLEA, even the NAFDAC, the custom, services, and the standard organizations of Nigeria, all are agencies going by the provisions of the law of the federations in 2004. It's empowered them with a lot of things regulating the affairs of importation or exportations of drugs in Nigeria. So mostly the drugs, even when you go to the guidelines by the pharmaceutical councils of Nigeria, such guidelines, it goes on the each and every drugs being in possession of a person. Such drugs, if there is no any prescription by a physician or a medical expert, such drugs, it will be in violations of the laws of the country or policy related to the taking of drugs. Because drugs, it is good to sell out drugs, but if you go deeply into the policy regarding drugs, a lot of pharmacies have to be shut down. But another aspect of it is that those medicine or those drugs taken for medication? That is the first question used to come to the society. If you open a pharmacy, is that pharmacy you are selling out drugs for medication or against the medical aspect of it? Because each drugs that intoxicate a person or take a person to the state of intoxication, it is the drugs that are being used or being manufactured to consume for medication. But some they are used to go against the physician's description or prescription. That is why most of the drugs become unlawfully in terms of taking it. So, but to say the number of drugs or to quantify the importations of drugs, it depends on the license issued to the pharmacy that importing the drugs. Because most of our drugs in Nigeria, we used to import them from India and other related countries. But such drugs, before you importing drugs to this country, you have to first acquire a license. Even such license is not ordinary from the federal government. Even the pharmaceutical councils of Nigeria, they have their own association in each state that are regulating and inspecting each and every pharmacy to see whether those such drugs are goods for human consumptions, are good for medication or not.
Surely.
Yeah.
So now, Barrister, if you look at the current drug policy in Nigeria, so you will see that people are being arrested, people are intimidated, people are incarcerated for possession of just a small quantity of tramadol. So what can you say about this? How can people look for their rights? What people can do when they are arrested for possession of just small quantity of controlled drugs?
Normally, if you go to the Federal High Court, being a court with a jurisdiction, only the courts with the jurisdiction to hear and determine matters related to drugs by virtue of Section 251 of the 1999 Constitution as amended 2011. So this jurisdiction, these courts, when you go there, most of the offenders of drugs-related things being prosecuted by the NDLEA, some of them are victims of circumstances. Because majority of them are drivers. Someone will come to the parks and wave you, just take this to Bauchi or take this to Abuja from Bauchi. On his way going, then the agency can stop him and conduct their search in accordance to their own professionalism and dictate that drugs. And mostly when he calls the number of the receiver or the sender, you find out that the number will be switched off. Because those people they are very smart in terms of using their own businesses. So when they see the certain number of time, when they are calculated the time, they will just switch off their phones, allow such a driver in the circumstances. So mostly when you go to the NDLEA command in each and every state, when you find out, you see that those people, even if you advise, sometimes we used to advise them, just prosecute these people to court so that most of drugs-related offenses is a bailable offense that can be scored, a person can be scored a bail And most of the punishment in terms of the drugs related matters, it goes on the quantity of the drugs being found in the possessions of that offender. So, but going by the proviso of our, or going by the dictum of the case of Josiah against the state, where the Oputa JSC, as he then was of blessed memory, he said that justice is not only a one-way traffic, it's a three-way traffic. First, justice to the offender, justice to the victim, and justice to the society itself. So when we say a justice to the offender is in line with the Constitution, when you look at the provisions of Section 36 sub 5 of the 1999 Constitution, it goes straightly stated that any person charged for a criminal offenses before the court of law, he presumed innocent. So that presumption of innocence, it matters a lot. You understand? And also, it is even is a provisions of the Section 36 of 6, paragraph B and C. When you look at the paragraph B, it says that any person charged for the offense of any person charged for criminal offenses, such a person must have adequate time and facilities to defend himself. And also, when you look at the proviso of subsection C, paragraph C, stated that such a person can defend himself personally or engage a legal practitioner of his own choice. So sometimes those agencies used to deny them access to legal practitioner, because most of them, they are victims of circumstances and they do not know what offenses they have been committed. Assuming now someone here has been found himself as a victim of circumstance, example, when we take a case study of a driver conveying a message away from Bauchi to Abuja, then if he is arrested at Akwanga, so he do not know the contents of that messages that he conveyed to Abuja. So if he has been arrested, so the agency have to look into who he is, why is he find himself into that. Although there are some people that go by the shadow of other activities and involved into drugs baron or drugs related offenses, but most of the victim of drugs related cases are the victim of circumstances. As I cite example like drivers, because I say it out of experience. Most of the people when you go to the correctional facilities here in Bauchi, you find out that most of the inmates in terms of drugs related offenses, they have been dumping there. Some of them, this is those that have been even have the pursuit of lawyer, then their charge will be prepared against them. And sometimes the judiciaries are refusing bails on those people.
So now, Barrister, you have highlighted the issue of this criminalization of drug abuse and drug use. So in your own perspective, what are the way forward?
Seriously, to me, I always say it to the people, the way forward in terms of drugs, in terms of preventive measure to be taken in issues of drugs related, especially those that are the final people that taking the drugs, like the drugs addicted persons. Mostly a punishment in terms of imprisonment, it will not serve the purpose of refrain them from taking that drugs, because the correctional facilities is a place where you see different kinds of people. That's some right. That have go there with a vast knowledge of crimes, while some are not even a first timer in terms of committing crime.
Sometimes, in most cases, a drug user will be arrested and he will be put in a cell together with criminals.
Yes,
just for possession of
drugs,
of small quantity of drugs.
Yes, so when you go to the command of NDLEA, you find out this, because the cell there is contain all of them, irrespective of the number of the quantity of quantifications of drugs that you have been in possession. And some they are not even drugs barons. They are just drugs addicted persons. So those drugs addicted persons, we need not to be confiscate them or incarcerations policy, punishment. We need not to adopt that policy. We have to go by way of, some of them, they find themselves in that situation because of the stigma they have in the society or in the community, or some in their own family. If I tell you, most of the drugs addicted persons, they are taking drugs by virtue of traumatization. Maybe at the loss of their investment,
Yes,
some
that is-
at the loss of their parents, some at the loss of
remember
their relatives.